Hey there, listeners. This is Carrie
and Mackenzie.
Before today's episode, we want to remind you that the content in this episode is not intended as medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment.
The use of the information on today's podcast is at the user's own risk. Listeners should contact their doctor or other qualified medical providers for medical advice.
Now roll the intro. Thanks for listening. Please enjoy.
Mike's live. Careful what you say. Let's go to my belly again. We're gonna have a belly mic. We're gonna hook up the mic to the belly.
You know what?
And have that be the background noise.
I think that might be a really bad idea.
Yeah, we don't need that in the background.
So, Kenzie.
Carrie.
Do we have any apologies, prayer requests?
Oh.
Do we need, is there anything that we need to apologize to the people?
You know, no, but there was a thing, there was something I was supposed to look up with Boys Don't Cry, and I was going to come back to it, and I didn't put it down in my notes, so I didn't come back to it. Do you remember what it was, what I was supposed to research? I had to listen back to the episode. I can't remember now. I was going to look something up and come back with it for this.
Right. Was it mental health related?
It was mental health related.
History related?
It was history of the it was a history of psychiatry something. Oh well, next episode. I'm gonna have to push it back a little bit. I'll have to do a correction. I think don't have any apologies, I don't think. Do you have an apology?
No, I couldn't think of one.
We've issued a blanket apology, remember, at the beginning of
for
us recording. So if we miss anything, we are sorry.
We're sorry about all of this.
Yes.
Okay.
We're sorry you're even listening right now.
Oh God, no.
No, just kidding.
That's going to be edited out.
Well, Carrie.
Please.
We're here for the Much Madness podcast.
Are we?
We are.
I thought we were just hanging out.
Well,
but we like to record ourselves.
I mean, that's what it feels like. But for anybody who's new listening and they hop onto this particular episode and not into the other ones, we have to let them know what's going on. But yeah, we're recording this week and we're going to discuss all of Us Strangers. And I don't have any conspiracy or mental health myths that we need to bring up for this episode. I do, just very briefly, I don't want this to dominate anything, but you and I have discussed in a couple episodes about the Make America Healthy Again campaign because it pertains a lot to mental health. Like that's one of the chronic things that the commission is looking at. And I just find it very interesting. Again, I don't really want to speak too much about it because we have the movie to talk about, which is way more interesting. But I just find it very interesting that the citations for the commission's report, which they put out very early, like they had a deadline of September 1st and they put it out,
this week?
No, it was in May. I mean, they've only been working on it for not even, his announcement was February 13th about the commission, the president's announcement. And then they only worked on it for 2 months, three months or whatever so far. I don't know.
Well, and I mean, I have no way of knowing. This is my opinion.
Right.
But I do have the relevant credentials.
Yes.
That when you have citations that are invented, that is ChatGPT that has written it and made up citations. It's well known for it.
Well,
I work in education.
Yeah.
And I run into this all the time of students putting into ChatGPT what they want to talk,
right.
Put in the prompt. And ChatGPT does not search libraries for sources. Mm-mm. So they make them up. I mean, totally, like publishing house, year, everything.
Yeah. Well, and the commission's not the only one that got in trouble with it. I just read the newspaper yesterday. It was a lawyer in Utah who has been sanctioned by the Bar Association of Utah, whatever legal authorities of the state, because he had a citation in one of his legal arguments for a case that did not exist. And it was found out that he used ChatGPT. The higher ups who would be like some kind of panel of judges or whatever.
Yeah, they always have like a commission for
some kind of regulatory body.
Yeah.
But yeah, they're sanctioning him. I don't know what the sanction is going to be, but I don't think he's being disbarred. But I mean, that doesn't seem like it would be too. I mean, it depends. Like I don't know. Again, I'm not in charge of these things, but if it's a regular practice that you're doing and you get caught multiple times, like, your license should be revoked.
Yeah.
I mean,
to me, that says you don't know what you're doing.
Right.
So you're going into Chat GPT.
Yeah, either revoked or suspended or whatever. Because, like, as a nurse, like, if you make so many mistakes that are egregious, which when you're arguing a case as a lawyer, like, these, would be comparable to, like, a mistake that a nurse would make, because there's people's oftentimes lives that are on the line here. So, like, it's not, it can certainly be maybe not true life and death in terms of medical emergencies, but it can be life or death when it comes to certain criminal cases, or
it could be life in prison. It could, I mean, a lot.
Yeah. Yep. So, I mean, I think if this guy is going to continue, I mean, whatever. That's my feelings. You have to send a clear message that this is just not okay. But I just wanted to bring up with the commission about how the citations they use to support a lot of their argumentation about the things that they're observing or the things that they're noting, and how they're trying to find.
So they've made it, that means statistics
they're questionable.
Yeah. Any of that information.
Yeah.
Let me put it this way.
Yeah.
If they were in college,
yeah,
this paper would have been given back to them, and they would have been given a 0 and reported to the department.
Right.
I mean, there are consequences for college students.
Yeah, but there don't seem to be any consequences for government employees at this present time. I guess that's all I'll say. But the one thing in the report that, like, because I read their report or whatever, I don't know if it's their first report or whatever they were saying this was, but the one thing that I had a gripe with, like, I had multiple gripes. The biggest one was where they're saying, like, overdiagnosis, like the overdiagnosis of mental disorders. And I was like, there certainly can be arguments in terms of mental health, as someone who is a provider myself, where certain conditions might be overdiagnosed in comparison to maybe other ones, but really it's just like it's a problem of misdiagnosis. So, like, I think there is a need for a certain diagnosis because there's overlap with certain conditions. So, like, for example, like, it can take some time for someone to be diagnosed with, let's say, bipolar disorder because of the way it presents. A lot of people get the diagnosis of being depressed first, and then they can get a diagnosis later. Things change, but
I've heard on the street.
On the street, yeah.
On the street. That's where I get all my info. And
you have, like, little urchins, like street urchins that give you information.
Oh, like Sherlock Holmes.
Yeah. Yes.
In his homeless underground.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. Anyway, way off track. But also borderline and bipolar get misdiagnosed for each other.
Yeah. Yep. And certainly you can have both. Like, I've seen people who have both, but I think it's pretty rare to have both. It's usually one or the other. But yeah, you're completely right. And so, like, my gripe was with the commission, them saying things are being overdiagnosed. I mean, it happens that things are misdiagnosed. It happens. That
happens in any medical,
yes,
whether it's
because you need more information. You don't always have that information, and you have to go with, in order to get treatment in our country, right? In a lot of other places, the U.S. is not the only people that do that, the society, but in a lot of places you have to have a diagnosis to receive some kind of a treatment. So you have to put a name on it, which sometimes we don't have the final diagnosis until later. And like you said, mental health or medical, but yeah.
Well, and I mean, I listened to a podcast. I probably shouldn't say the name, should I?
You can. We talked about Emily D. Baker. Yeah, whatever. Yeah.
I listened to Psychology in Seattle.
Okay. Oh, yeah, you've talked about that podcast with me before.
Yeah,
off mic,
I love it. Dr. Kirk Honda.
Yeah.
And, oh my God, what was I going to say?
I don't know. You were listening to a podcast recently. Was there an episode in particular?
What did you say?
We were just talking about misdiagnosis or how long it can take. And
anyway, yeah. Okay, let's start that over. Dr. Kirk Honda from Psychology in Seattle, he said that it can take, he said, when it comes to, like, personality issues and bipolar, and he goes, all of these, he's like, I don't make a diagnosis right away. He goes, sometimes to get that final diagnosis, it can take 6 months before, just because you're gathering data. That's all you're doing.
Right. And I think,
Not all you're doing, but
I think
you're trying to.
I think 6 months is actually, and that's a pretty good average, I think, though, too. Like, I would say if we're going to be, like, more conservative and just, like, try to give them best benefit of the doubt, like, I think, like, a year. I think if you see someone consistently for a year, you could probably get close to, like, whatever the final diagnosis is. But things can change over a year, too, so lots of ups
Well,
and
I
downs.
guess that would mean, like, if it was situational, sometimes situations change.
Yeah.
They get worse.
Yeah. Or better, but I mean,
I am a
usually
pessimist,
worse.
madam.
Yeah. I think it just usually gets worse before it gets better. I think
Listen, it gets worse and then you die. Okay? That's the way life is.
Yep.
Let's be realistic.
Da-dump. That's it, folks.
Yep.
That's the
and
end.
we're done.
Yeah. So I'll be interested to see what happens with the commission moving forward now that we know that, like, cough, they plagiarize cough. So I just, plagiarize makeup sources, whatever you want. Is that technically plagiarism? It is technically, right? If you use, I mean, we don't have any evidence to say that the commission used ChatGPT to come up with these things.
No, I'm just saying that is a hallmark of ChatGPT.
Yeah, but wouldn't that be considered a plagiarism?
It falls in that category.
Yeah. Or fraud, whatever. I don't know what it would be.
Either way.
Like if you use fraudulent information, I don't know. It's just, overall, it's an inaccurate report because they don't have good sources and things like that. Anyway, and the writing of it wasn't really that stellar anyway. Just sorry. And whoever was the primary author of that.
It was the ether that was the...
The brainworm.
The ghost in the machine. Did it seem circular in reasoning? Like, did it seem to say the same thing in different ways?
Yeah. I mean...
Okay. Well, and like we said, we have no idea if this is true, but I do know ChatGPT is pretty much talking in circles. Mm-hmm. And talking about the same thing every paragraph, but using different words.
I just don't think... I think you could use ChatGPT for different things, but you can't use it for, like, long reports and things like that. Like, you can use it for short things.
You can't use it to make up statistics.
Well, no.
No.
No, I'm talking about if you're trying to figure out how to maybe phrase something... Like
you could put a sentence in and say, rewrite this several times.
You have to do short little things.
Yeah.
You can't do long different things because it doesn't make any sense. And like you said, ChatGPT is about creating new things, and it's pulling from lots of sources all over the internet to come up with something new. Like, if you're trying to use evidentiary things, whether it's for law or for, I don't know, a health commission, like, I don't know why you would use AI to do it. Like, I mean, just use brain power, whatever. Anyway, short things, whatever. Okay. Anything else that we want to talk about before we talk about the movie? I want to move on to the movie now because I want to talk about something fun, not something,
Well, let's move on to the movie.
Okay. So I pulled this one. So, I was going to say, do you want to go ahead and
Kenzie, why are we here?
Why are we here? What do you mean? I don't know. Why?
We're here for the Much Madness podcast.
Oh, yeah. Yes.
We would like to say hello to all our listeners.
Yes. Yep. I'm Mackenzie, and that
I'm
over
Carrie.
there is Carrie. That person.
That thing on the couch.
Well, after this movie, I'm going to question everything, so.
Well, I think you should.
Honestly, so this movie, so we're talking about All of Us Strangers. It came out in 2023.
Yes.
Okay, yeah. It's an indie film, I think, isn't it?
Isn't it?
Isn't it?
Isn't it, Gunna?
Mary Poppins.
Here, I'll look it up to see who
I forget.
Produced it.
I didn't put anything in my notes, but I can see. I think it's a common production, but I don't know if that was the production. If that company is the one that put it out there, because it premiered at Cannes, didn't it? At Cannes.
You know what? I don't know.
I thought it was a film festival.
It
darling.
was definitely on that circuit.
Yeah, I have a feeling it just feels like an indie movie.
It's definitely not something That's mainstream.
Yeah, you know, like those.
I would say a mainstream.
Something that's marketed in more than just certain audiences would see. You know, it seems like more of an art house film.
Yeah, it's like something you would go. Oh, I'm not going to say the theater, but
Yeah.
you know what I'm saying.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Okay, so am I leading?
Yeah, I was gonna. That's what I was saying is like, even though I pulled it, since you know more about this movie than I do, I thought maybe you should lead with it because you've seen it before, and this was my first time seeing it, and I didn't. Other than knowing who the cast of this movie was, I didn't look anything up about this movie beforehand, so I had many impressions. It was a slight roller coaster of things that I thought while I was watching this movie.
She thought so much. Yes, it was an independent film. It was named one of the top 10 independent films of 2023 by the National Board of Review. It earned 6 BAFTA Award nominations. So, yeah, it's...
Nailed it. Knew it.
Nailed it. I can read.
Yeah.
So, I love Andrew Scott. So,
He's a good actor. I mean, God, since we brought up Sherlock earlier, I mean, like,
Moriarty.
yeah, I mean, like, he's the best. I mean, he plays an excellent villain.
I mean, when they are in the
We're talking about Sherlock right now. We're talking movie.
Yeah. At the end of that one, when they meet Moriarty for the first time, and he talks about how I will burn the living heart out of you. That's how That's how he said it.
Yeah,
I mean,
emphasis. It was almost like he was going to hawk a loogie and he was going to spit it in Sherlock's face. Like, that's how I felt with that scene.
Yeah.
But yeah.
The problem is, I really like Andrew Scott, and Moriarty didn't have a problem with him.
No, but I mean, like, I don't know. It's just, I think it's a good testament as an actor or actress if you can play both villains and heroes very well. Like, means you have, that range or whatever. But, and this certainly isn't like a hero story per se, but that's what I know Andrew Scott the most from is like that, because I love Sherlock, that whole reproduction, retelling. Yeah, the BBC one with Benedict Cumberbatch. So, and Dr. Watson is Martin, God, he's so good too. I can't remember his last. Freeman, yeah. Great cast. Sorry. I mean, great. There's lots of Martins out there that are in the showbiz, the arts.
The arts.
So, yeah. But that's a great cast too. And also, this is a great cast too. Great actors.
Paul Mescal. We have Jamie Bell. Claire Foy.
And that's pretty much it. Those are the main. Yeah, I mean, there's other, I would say, extras. There's nobody else that's...
Yeah, I mean, really, the main story is between the 4 of them.
Yeah.
Like, everyone else listed is like dad on train, teen, passerby, shopper.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, those are the main speaking parts, I guess you could say, for sure.
And it's based on a book.
I did not know that. Well, but I mean, to be fair, a lot of the good movies are. Yeah. So, yeah.
By Tachi Yamada. And... the novel is called Strangers. I think it's originally Japanese.
Okay. So originally it's different culturally too then.
Yeah.
Okay, because that could maybe explain some of the things that I was thinking and feeling as well about this movie.
And I have the book upstairs. It's on my TBR.
The TBR that always never ends.
I need a whole bookshelf for my TBRs.
Yeah. I've become way more selective with my TBRs because I just know, I think you and I have talked about this before, not on the podcast, but off mic, where I just know what I like now, and a lot of it is me reading for enjoyment, because for so long I've had to read for certain reasons, for undergrad, masters, whatever. And so now I like to pick what I read. I do occasionally pick up something that might enlighten me. maybe change my brain chemistry for the good, but otherwise I'm just getting my dopamine fix by watching and reading the things that I just enjoy, because life is too short. And I know what I enjoy, I know what I like, and so I just want to read more and more of it. So
it's only going to get worse, and then you're going to die.
Yep, exactly.
You gotta read
as we
books.
Said earlier.
Our life philosophy. Okay,
great.
so I did start the book.
Okay.
But so I can tell you that where he lives when we have that opening. And it's like, what is happening? No one else lives.
Yeah.
in this building. According to the book,
But it's taking place in Japan. Is that
God, I think so.
okay?
Yeah.
Yeah, they have a lot of
Tokyo,
high.
maybe?
Yeah, they have a lot of high rises. This is so. If you go to watch this movie, which again, I think you should
It
watch
takes
it.
place in London.
Yes, and you can find it streaming. I watched it on Amazon Prime, but there's other things. We didn't have the problem we had with Boys Don't Cry, which we weren't able to find it as an indie film. But I think because this is a newer indie film, it's much readily available. It's also got two pretty. Well, Paul Mescal is an up-and-coming kind of actor. Andrew Scott is like a little bit more well-known for different things. So.
Paul Mescal was in
Ordinary People, which is great. That's based off a book, too.
Normal People.
Is it? Oh, yeah, you're right. Normal people, not ordinary people.
Ordinary People's a whole different...
Oh, yeah, that's
and that is based on a book, Ordinary People.
And one of Carrie's favorite movies.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, you're right. Normal People. He was also in Gladiator 2. Paul was.
Oh, yeah, he was.
We'll never probably talk about Gladiator just because there's not really anything mental health to talk about in those movies. But I really like the first Gladiator movie.
Yes.
Gladiator 2 was a letdown for me. I'm just going to be honest. Like, I liked...
This many years later, I had no doubt it was going to be a disappointment.
Well, it had Denzel Washington in it, which he does not typically let down.
He's always, like, perfect.
Yes. So you would think that... Yeah, but I just think that, like, the story... I don't know. They were trying to... I think they should have just done a totally different Gladiator story, but the story... Spoilers if you haven't watched the second Gladiator movie yet, but they tried to piggyback off of, like, that Paul Mescal's character was Russell Crowe's son, or whatever, like his... But he had died. I don't... It was, like, maybe another son or something? I have no idea. Like, that he... it was the son he fathered. It was the son, supposedly he fathered with the Emperor's sister.
Oh.
It was their love child. That's who Paul Mescal's... Yeah, I don't know. See, the thing is, like, you can't... The storyline from the first Gladiator movie, this is just a total tangent. I don't even know if we're going to keep this in the episode or not.
I'm going to guess we're not.
I don't... We might. It depends on... if I like it or not. Well, since I'm... Or if you like it, because you got to put your notes in. It depends on if we both agree whether it stays or not. Anyway, it doesn't make any sense. Don't mess with a good thing. And then you just...
I don't like it. Like, I agree. Just do a totally different... different...
Right.
When they try to make these tenuous connections to the... I don't know.
Its story was wrapped up. It had its ending. And then you're trying to, like I said, piggyback off of that. Like, there's so much you can say about the Roman Empire and about gladiators. Like, just come up with a different story. It'll still be interesting. People still want to...
Go on to ChatGPT. Have it write you a script.
Have them give you a writing prompt. But yeah, that's what Paul is most recently known for, because that came out last year. So, but yeah, and then Jamie Bell, great. There's an episode, or not an episode, but there's a scene in the movie where he's singing, and I'm like, the man can sing. He's been in musicals. I think he was underplaying that, probably to sound more like, yeah. And I think Claire Foy is probably a pretty good singer too, where they were singing, but she also underplayed it, so. I think isn't Andrew Scott a good singer too? Doesn't he play an instrument? Doesn't he have a band?
I have no idea.
I don't know. I'm going to have to research this, but I thought Andrew Scott had a band and was a singer, but.
Huh.
Okay.
All right.
I could be putting that out there. And Andrew Scott, if you're listening, like, if you're not already a singer, then you should be, so.
Because Kenzie's had a premonition, obviously.
Yes. So, yeah, when you're talking about, like, the opening scene of, like, where Adam, who is Andrew Scott's character, like, where he's living, because that's just what we're seeing is him. Just kind of like with Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind, we see...
Why are we talking about it?
Well, I'm just saying it's just very similar where we see these two people live in their living situations, like...
Very
going about their...
isolated.
Like, isolated, but yeah, but going about, like, their normal routine and stuff like that. I just was drawing parallels with those two.
Okay.
But they're definitely different stories. Okay, so first, you wanted to know my thoughts. My first impression is, like, the first few scenes of this movie, I was like, oh, this is going to be about a lonely guy. Because that's my impression of Adam, is he's, like, lonely, right? And then he meets Harry. And
Harry
then
comes to his door.
Yep. That's Paul Mescal's character, and he is intoxicated. Probably on drugs and alcohol. I don't know. But definitely he has a liquor bottle, and he is trying to...
talk his way into Adam's apartment.
Yeah.
He said he was just lonely and wanted,
right, one company or whatever.
Yeah.
And he figured that Adam was lonely too because he never saw him with anybody. He's making a real good pitch about hanging out with him,
It's like, really, dude, you are alone in here.
Right.
And he lives a couple floors, I think, above.
No, I think he's below. I think Adam's apartment is above. Isn't Adam on 9 and Harry's on 6?
Oh, yep, you're right.
Okay. So, I mean, this is a pretty tall building too, so there's lots of floors.
Well, and the thing is, in the book, you find out that he's living in a in the book, that character has been divorced, I think. Divorced, and he's moved here.
You're right, you don't know any of that for the movie.
No.
Yeah.
But the book says that it's a mixed use building, so there are offices as well as apartments, and that it's mostly just business, that really not a lot of people live there. So in the movie, you like, never see anyone else.
Right, it's supposed to be like a new building, right? That's like that's what
people are moving in.
Harry says. Yeah, they're like, he said they haven't even hired security because there's like not enough people.
So they already probably feel kind of disconnected from the outside world if there are only a few people who live there. Yeah, I mean they had a fire alarm go off, and only Andrew Scott's Andrew Scott's character, Adam, he was the only one who went out. And that was before Harry came to his door, right?
Right.
And you could see Harry looking down at him from his living room.
Right, and then he comes up.
And then Harry shows up.
Yeah.
So,
yeah,
I mean, you just get this idea that you have a couple of people who don't really connect with others.
Yeah.
I feel like we're going through every scene. Anyway.
No, but I wanted to tell you what my thoughts were after. Okay,
Yeah.
so like this is what you see, right? But then there's like that creepy noise, which Paul Mescal's character makes a comment about the noise, which I think is like the elevator or it's some kind of a generator.
Or it's something.
It's something with the building.
Yeah.
But it's an electrical, it's like an equipment noise, but it's kind of creepy because it's like, especially because of the way that they're using it in the movie, like to play it up or whatever. And Harry is saying like to Adam, Andrew Scott's character, about like he's tried white noise, he's tried to like drown it out, but like it comes and goes, and I think it bothers him. So it's like, so psychologically we're already kind of like getting to a point of being like triggered.
Yeah.
I think insinuating that kind of, okay. But then this is where my thoughts go, because then the next scene, Adam goes on a train. And we see because he had looked through those photos and things he had. And
he had photos of his childhood.
Yeah, and he had his family home, and so he goes to visit it. Because we can see, he compares, we can know it's that because he compares the old photo with the building in front of him, right? But then he goes to the park. But here's the thing is, like, there's this person who we see after Adam's been there for a little while, right? And the sun is going down, and he turns around, and there's, like, a guy that's been following him. So Carrie, this was my thoughts. I was like, oh my God, this is gonna be a thriller. This is like this is a psychological thriller, and Adam is about to be murdered. That was my thought. I was like, I thought Harry was gonna murder him. I was like, this is where this is going.
Well, when I first saw it, and he's in the field, and he turns around and sees that guy.
Yes.
Who will tell you who that is? I thought, are they gonna have sex?
Oh, is that what your thought was?
Yeah, I thought it was.
They were going to hook up or something?
Yeah.
No, I thought he was going to get murdered. And then I was like, I've watched way too many.
I'm all about making sweet love, apparently. And you're like, kill him.
I've watched way too many thrillers. Because then when you find out who that person actually is, I was like, oh, wow. Like, that's where my mind jumped to, is like, this is going to be.
And mine just.
No.
No.
Well, we do see there are love scenes, in this movie between Adam and Harry. Because, Adam does eventually meet up with Harry later in the movie. And
they ended up in the elevator together.
Yep.
And awkward conversation.
Right.
Adam tries to talk to Harry because I think he feels bad. And then
for shutting him down.
Yeah, and he says, hey, if I have whiskey too, if you want to come for a drink. And he just stepped out and the door's closed.
Yep.
But then they do end up meeting.
Yeah, and talking.
And starting a relationship.
Yeah.
And I thought it was interesting. I've watched so many interviews with Paul Mescal and Andrew Scott they said you're really seeing, they're also pointing out the difference of the generations of gay men.
Yeah.
Because Adam came up in a time when he came out, he had to worry about AIDS. He had to worry about if I sleep with someone, it could kill me.
Right.
He is not demonstrative, I don't think, in any way about his affections. Whereas you have Harry, who
the younger
is a
character.
good 15 years younger, maybe even more. And so you see, he's much more, this is just every day. This is,
Yeah, no big deal.
Yeah, no big deal. So I thought that was...
Well, and then we even get that too in the scenes of the movie when Adam is with his mom and his dad. So yeah, what we learn is that creepy person I thought in the park was going to kill Adam was actually his father.
Who, thank God, he didn't have sex with.
Right. I know, right? But there's like there is this confusion then on the part of the audience because
we know...
What we don't know.
No, we don't know by that time.
No, it's because he explains it to Harry.
And I would just like to point out, when he goes to the house earlier, before he meets the man in the field.
Yeah.
There's a little boy looking out from the inside.
Oh, is there?
In the front window.
Oh. So, yeah, which we don't know if that's like a family that lives there currently or if that's supposed to be, it's probably supposed to be him, I'm assuming.
It looks like the pictures of him.
Oh, does it?
Same outfit.
Okay. Because this is like this is the start of the roller coaster, right? For me. Because then you're confused because, you know, he's talking to this guy who is his age, you know, essentially.
He's older. Adam's
right,
older than
his
man.
father. Yeah. So, but he's calling him father. So then in my mind, I'm like, okay, so this must
Dad.
be, so this is what I was thinking back because on the train going back home, Adam falls asleep on the train. So I'm thinking must be a dream. He's dreaming, right? Because we've seen that in other movies. We've seen like these things. So I'm thinking he's dreaming. So he's dreaming about talking to his father as a younger man, you know, like
the age he was when he died.
Right, but we don't know that he's dead though.
Shit, sorry.
It's okay. Spoiler. So Adam's parents are dead, and they had died when he was younger. So we're basically seeing
they died on was it Christmas Eve?
Yeah. So we see his parents as the last time he remembered them. Like they don't age, right? They're not aging beyond that.
When he and his dad get back to the house, and the dad like knocks and she comes to the door, she says, "Is it him? Did you find him?"
Yeah.
So they've been looking for him.
Right.
And he said, "Come and see for yourself."
Right.
And here's his mom, played by Claire Foy, looking very 1980s.
Right.
And they're all just rolling with it. Like, Adam's rolling with it.
But I think there's the understanding, like, from the conversation. Like, he's talking to his parents, but he's, you know, they're asking him questions about, like, their deaths or, like, about him as he's grown up. And so, like, my thoughts were, like, he's having a dream, but he's like, this is a process of grief, right? So this is, like, so then I'm, like, in my mind, I'm like, oh, this movie's going to be about grieving then, right? It's about loneliness from how we see Adam in his adult life with these limited interactions he has with Harry, and then it's going to be about grief, right? Those are my thoughts, okay? And those are my thoughts that I have throughout the movie until the very end of the movie, and then I'm like, okay, this is a totally different movie.
It is.
It is, yeah. So for the rest of the movie, what we see are these scenes, they're kind of back and forth.
It's all relationship driven.
Right, but between this relationship with Harry that he's developing and then also this relationship with his parents that he's kind of like reliving, rehashing, processing because it's his grief. Like, and as Adam talks to Harry and he's talking about his childhood, you know, that's when we learn that his parents did die in the car crash and, you know, he was raised by a grandmother and, you know, he was bullied because of
Ireland.
Yes. Yeah. Although, and actually both of those actors are Irish and none of them, you know, they're not using their Irish accents, but, yeah, you're right. It's very relationship, very character driven.
Yeah.
You know?
There's not a whole
lot of plot.
There's not a lot of action.
Yeah.
Except between Paulo.
And of the sexual nature. And there's warnings, at least on Amazon when you're watching it, about like sexual content. It's not very graphic. No. I mean,
no, but
honestly, Boys Don't Cry was more graphic, I think.
Yeah, and I think the whole thing is there are people who, if they watch this movie, all of a sudden they're confronted with the portrayal of homosexuals, gay sex, whatever.
Yeah.
Or as Harry would say, queer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
And so that might make people uncomfortable, but I'm like, it's sex. Like it's
Yeah.
just human people doing what human
Right.
people do.
And I don't know if that's my mentality or like the way I've been raised or like just the way that I look at it. But yeah, I wasn't, even though I'm someone who identifies as a straight woman, like I was not bothered by it at all. Like,
Not even hot and bothered?
no, because maybe that's, no, but maybe that's how my straightness is, but because it didn't necessarily get me hot and bothered, but I also didn't find it disgusting, like, you know, as a straight woman, like it just
what
is.
is funny is that
What?
this goes into our upbringings.
Yeah.
Because mine was very religious.
Yeah.
And so I always I know what that mentality is.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm like, whereas I feel like you've been more open.
Yeah, my uncle was gay, so like his boyfriend, he brought him around. So like I was, you know,
Yeah.
it wasn't something that,
Yeah, I had a cousin who was gay.
yeah.
And he died in 92 of AIDS.
Yeah.
Quite young.
Yeah.
And he was diagnosed in 88, so that was before AZT or anything.
Yeah.
It was a death sentence.
Yeah. Was he diagnosed, just curious, AIDS or HIV? Or maybe you don't know because of how long
You know what?
ago
I
it
was 13, and I do not know.
Okay.
He was 23 when he was diagnosed.
Okay. Yeah, just because, I mean, and the virus was a little bit different back then, but like I think it was a lot quicker to progress from HIV to AIDS.
Well, they had no medication to hold it back.
Yeah. But also, though, you hear about people who have it for like 10 or 12 years, even without being on medication, because they don't know they have it. And then I think at that point, then maybe it does become AIDS. I'm not sure. I'm not an expert on infectious disease or that particular virus. So, but yeah, I mean, thank God that we have treatments now and that we're possibly at a cure point because they're working on the cure.
Yeah, I mean, they also have a pill that you can take as a prophylactic.
Yeah.
And I mean, I know people who were friends with my cousin. I haven't seen them in quite a while. Who were diagnosed the same time he was, and they're still kicking it.
Yeah.
Because they lived long enough for the pills.
Right. Which is great. And so, yeah, that goes back to
over 30 years.
Well, yeah, and that goes to the point where we're seeing these discussions in the movie about the concept of just of gay people, like, and how they live. Yeah.
In this movie, what a gift it would be, like, to be able to go back, like, after someone has passed. Mm-hmm. And he was 12, so he didn't get to have any of these conversations.
No. Right.
So he gets to come out to his parents.
Right.
His dad definitely already knew. And and her whole thing, I mean, she was not happy.
Yeah, but
not because she had a thing against homosexuality. She was worried about AIDS. She was worried about him having children.
And worried about him being bullied and mistreated. Yeah. So she's just worried about him as her child. Yeah.
And when he says to her, well, I can have kids. I can even get married.
Right, yeah.
And when you think if that was in the 80s that they died, it would have to be like mid-80s. Everything that has transpired since then in the world, the inventions, the social changes, the ideas about what's right and wrong.
Yeah. Yeah, there's been a lot of progress. I mean, still progress to be made, but
yeah. But I try to put myself in her position.
Right.
When I watch that, and I'm just like, oh.
Yeah.
And he gets very, not very, but he does get kind of upset because he's taking it as rejection.
Right.
But I think he eventually realized. And then, speaking of conversations, the convo he had with his dad.
Oh, yeah.
And his dad being able to apologize. I'm like, what a gift.
Yeah.
So he and his dad sit down and have a conversation about, this was after, his mom wasn't there. It was
These
after
are multiple visits.
Multiple visits.
Back home, where he's going from London to the house. Yeah.
And this was right after, it was like a day after he had told her about being gay. Mm-hmm. And she wasn't there. I don't know where they go, but she wasn't there.
Yeah, but in my mind though, like as I'm watching this movie, like I'm thinking these are dreams he's having, or my other thought was, Carrie, I was like, oh, maybe this is the truest like movie where we're talking about like madness, where, you know, like the topic of our podcast, where, I mean, we're talking about mental health, but like if we're talking about like true madness, like the stuff that we see in films, in stories where people are driven mad, whether it's by grief or by other things, I was like, maybe this is the madness that we're finally going to get to talk about as part of the podcast. Like he's going mad, right? Like if these are hallucinations or things like that. So I'm thinking these are products of, this is what I'm thinking as I'm watching this, is products of his mind. So he can, in some way, there's some control over who he's talking to and why, and like what the, you know, because people will obviously create scenarios in their head if they're trying to work out an issue, like if they're doing it from an anxiety standpoint where they're trying to like rehearse or things like that, or people who have ADHD or autism, like they will rehearse things because they're trying to, you know, that's what I felt like this might be in a way.
Yeah. It's weird because when I watched it, I just took it at face value. Okay.
Yeah.
You know? Yeah, this makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I thought it was just, I mean, I thought it was a product of his mind, and I thought it was him processing his grief. It's a way, like, I felt like the movie was about, he's at a point where, like, he's lonely, possibly clinically depressed, even though, again, we don't see a whole lot of interaction of him with other people, so it's not like we can really, it's not like something that could be diagnosed, and it's not like something that we know he is diagnosed with, right? But this is what I'm thinking in my head. Like, he's at this point where he needs to process his grief, his trauma of losing his parents that are young, and this is what's happening. And maybe this new relationship with Harry is what is prompting him to do that. Like, he's finally like, I need to get to a healthy place, and so I'm going to process my grief. And that's what I feel like he was doing. I'm just like because I'm just like trying to see where it goes, because again, originally I thought this was going to be a thriller, and then it wasn't, and then I'm like, okay, this is like a drama about grief. But
at a certain point, you're like, I don't know what it's about.
Well, so let's talk about that, okay? So like you're seeing the majority of the middle of the movie, the majority of it is.
I don't think we mentioned he is a screenwriter.
Oh no, we didn't mention that.
And he's trying to write about his childhood.
Is that what he's trying to write about? I thought he was... Okay. Well, maybe, and that makes sense because he was, like, digging through his old things, maybe trying to get inspiration or stuff like that.
Because he had writer's block, and so he wanted to go back to the house.
Yeah. So there's that in play, too, where he's, like I said, maybe that's where he's he's trying to process these things, too.
And it makes sense. He's going to go back and have these memories, I'm sure, are overwhelming. Because, I mean, he had to look at a picture to make sure it was the right house.
Right. Yeah, but there's a twist at the end.
Yeah.
You want to talk about the twist? I want to talk about it. I wanted to get your thoughts. Were there any thoughts about...
I wanted to also, to lead up to the twist.
Okay, yeah, what do you want to say to lead up to it?
He takes Harry to meet his parents.
Right, well, this is where the twist happens, though.
Yes.
Okay.
Well, yeah, I wanted...
Oh, okay. Right, so he gets to a point where him and Harry, their relationship is... Progressing. And after a night at the club, right, they go to a club and there's drugs and alcohol, and he has a nightmare, and Harry's with him in the bed, and so that's where Adam...
He gets ill and has a fever.
Well, and that's a theme throughout this movie, though. He's ill a few different times in the movie. He gets hot a few different times. Mm-hmm. So, like, I was wondering if, again, if we're thinking about madness, like, if he has an illness and that's what's driving him to have these hallucinations or things like that. But
it's like, is this a literal fever dream?
Right, exactly, yes. Good way, Carrie, to put it. That's what I was thinking. Yeah.
I am the Kinsey interpreter.
You have the words when I don't have them. But yeah, he opens up to Harry, Adam does, about what happened with his parents, and so then he's like, I want to show you, so... And
that he was supposed to be in the car that night, but he had fallen asleep, and his parents left without him.
Right.
So he did have that, he did...
Survivor's guilt or whatever, kind of, yeah.
And just a lot of...
Yeah.
And to wake up, knowing you were supposed to go with them, to then wake up to be told that, they let you sleep.
Right.
And they were killed.
It's so rough. But yeah, so what happens is, what Carrie's talking about is, Harry rides the train with Adam to the village he's from. They go to the house, and it's very dark. It's at night. and Adam
No
is
one's
trying to get in.
answering.
Yeah, no one's answering because Adam's trying to get in. However, after Adam like tries to break in, does he break glass at that point?
No.
No.
No, and Harry is freaking out. And I get it. You think you're at someone's house, and then all of a sudden you're like, I'm not so sure about this.
Right.
And he wants Adam to go home. This was after he woke up after the fever.
Right. Yeah. And after he took a shower and stuff like
And
that. Yeah.
so finally they go to this back door, I think goes into the kitchen. Mm-hmm. And Adam looks through the window and can see them. Mm-hmm. But they almost look frightened.
Right. Well,
And
they don't look like how you see them in the movie. They look like apparitions.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Harry
Sees them too.
But we don't know. He doesn't tell
Well,
Adam that for a minute.
yeah, we don't know that. We know that here soon.
It almost
thereafter.
looked like he hadn't, and he was like, "Oh no."
Yeah, I'm getting out of here.
Yeah.
Yeah. So.
And Adam did get to spend a last Christmas with them.
Right.
It was a repeat.
Right.
I loved the camera angle there because they were decorating the Christmas tree, and he was down on his knees putting on the lower.
Like a child.
Yeah, so the viewpoint from the parents is he's still a kid.
Right.
And she starts to sing the Pet Shop Boys, You Were Always on My Mind, which is just an amazing song.
Right.
And it was like an apology to him.
Yeah, it was.
You
Yeah,
know,
I could
because
see.
it's all about sorry, I didn't.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't treat you,
Like I should.
Yeah.
But you were always on my mind.
Right.
I'm going to cry. I'm welling.
Well, it's an emotional scene, and then
And
after that,
he gets in bed with them.
yeah,
Yeah, just like a kid.
right. But then after that, then there's another scene where he goes out to a restaurant soon thereafter.
Right. Because
Because this is after Harry was there.
his parents tell him that he can't come back.
Right. He can't keep doing this, basically.
I'm going to sob.
Well, because he has to. It's basically it's a closure. He's getting closure. Yeah, and like Carrie said, he can't come back. They're saying to him, "We love you," and they're thankful to him about having had this time with him. But like he has to move on essentially.
He goes, "Well, I don't want it to end now. It's only been
Right.
like whatever.
I think it's only been like a week or 2 weeks or something
I
like
don't
that.
know, because it seemed like he was there an awful lot.
I know it did, but
I'm trying to figure out.
But it could only have been like a week or two because of what we learn at the very end.
Yeah.
So it has to have been only a week or two.
I am a mess.
Yeah, Carrie, you can't see her right now, but she is visibly crying. She's holding it together.
Which I never do.
No, she
I'm a
sucks.
weller. Anyway, so...
But that's an emotional scene. I mean, they're
Yeah.
crying in the scene too, like the parents and
so
him.
they go to, I think, his favorite restaurant at the mall.
Yeah.
Well, it would have been his favorite when he was 12.
Right.
And he ordered, the waitress says, he orders 3 entrees. And she's like, that's a lot of food. Because she can't see them.
Right. Again, because these are, in my mind, at this point, in my mind, as I'm watching this movie, this is either hallucinations he's having or he's dreaming it.
Right.
Which, but at that restaurant scene, I was like, oh, this must be like really happening. And then they must be hallucinations, right? Like things of his mind,
Right. And at one point, when I saw it the first time, I thought, is this from the ketamine he took at the club?
Oh, is that what he had?
Yeah.
Was it ketamine?
Yeah, because they snorted it because Harry had some in his pocket.
Yeah, he just found it.
Yeah, hey, I found this in my pocket. You want some? Yeah. So they both snorted in the bathroom. And then Harry looks at Adam and goes, so that's ketamine. Have you ever had it before? And he's like, no, but you'll take care of me, right? Yeah. And he's like, oh, yeah, of course. But then it gets into a weird cat and mouse on the subway. And But when you get to the end, you see why it's confusing.
Yeah.
After the restaurant scene, he goes back home and he goes up to Harry's apartment. Or down to Harry's apartment. So, his mom wants him to
Be happy.
be
essentially.
happy and have a life. And I mean, honestly, how many men of his age who are gay wished for nothing more?
Exactly. Right.
Oh my gosh. So he goes to Harry's apartment. He has the whiskey. He went and bought a new
New bottle of whiskey.
bottle of whiskey for him. And the door's open, so he walks in. The screen is just on snow. It's just,
Right,
you know,
the TV. Right.
the TV. And there's a smell.
Well, and he's never...
He's
but
never been in it.
He's never been in the apartment before because Harry's always come up to his, yeah.
So he walks in.
Which, and you could think it could maybe be food because there's plates
Yeah.
and stuff everywhere, right? Yeah, there's like plates.
So he
cups,
looks
and
at the
stuff.
food and he's like, oh, that's a smell.
Yeah.
And then he goes into the bedroom.
Yeah, what's the... Is it it's the bathroom, isn't it?
No, it's the bed. He was in the bed.
Oh, was it the bed?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So he goes into the bedroom and Harry is dead.
Yep.
But Harry has been dead for a while.
Yeah, you see, I mean, it's not so grotesque. You're not seeing, when you're watching the movie, the whole body, but you see Harry's hand, and
It's bloated and...
It's modeled, what we call, which is like where the blood basically, you know, it like thickens and you can
coagulates.
see it. Yeah, basically. Yeah, so it's not a recent death, it's...
Right.
Yes.
So what...
But, before you go on, we can estimate when he died because what does Adam pick up but that bottle of whiskey that Harry had when he came to his apartment that first night.
When he was just
Drunk
drunk and looking for someone to just talk to or be with.
Yeah.
So what we learn from that is that Harry went back to his apartment after first meeting him that first night and killed himself.
Do you think it was on purpose though, or do you think
no, it was on purpose.
Okay.
I think it was absolutely on purpose.
Okay. I wasn't sure from the conversation.
Because he said that first night to Adam, or he said it later on maybe, that he was just afraid to be alone. He was afraid of what would happen.
Oh.
So I think he went to Adam's apartment that first night like, I
need help.
I need help. I am suicidal. I just need to sit with someone. But
Which, he didn't say that, though.
He didn't say it.
The thing is, I wonder if he had just said something like that. You know? Like, and then if Adam...
I'm trying to think. Someone comes to your door who you know lives in your building. If they were to say, I'm going to kill myself and I need to come in here and sit with you.
No, I think it depends on the person. Because if it was me, if it was me, then I would just... I would have them...
I would
obviously call for help, but I would wait with that person, but...
I imagined that I would shut the door and call the cops.
Yeah.
And so I don't know if that would have made any difference.
Right.
But then Harry comes in, walks up into the apartment.
Yeah, and that's where I'm confused. I'm like, wait a minute.
Right.
He's dead. We see that. Yep. Well, it's a suggestion. And then you see, Harry's in his own apartment. And then that's when I know that it's a paranormal movie.
And Adam stops him from going in to see him. And of seeing himself. And Harry says, why has no one come to check on me? Not even my mom. Right. And you learn earlier in the movie he's estranged.
Yes.
From his family because of his homosexuality. Right. So...
Well, and that's where we get the title of the movie, I think, right? Because it's talking about strangers. Like, he feels like a stranger in his own family.
I think also a stranger to yourself. I think it's all the strangers.
Yeah. Yep.
And not knowing yourself. So we find out that Harry is a ghost, and then the next scene...
Yeah, that's the bomb. Harry's a ghost.
He's a ghost. The parents are a ghost.
Yes.
Everyone's a ghost except for Adam.
Yeah, he's the only living person outside of the extra characters that we see that is in the movie.
Yeah. Everyone he's connecting with.
They're all ghosts.
They're all ghosts. They're all dead.
Right.
So when he didn't let him go see his body, his own body, and then they were in bed and he's like, I'm going to take care of you, and he starts singing, I think, a Frankie Goes to Hollywood song to him.
Right, but that was the opening song of the movie too. Did you notice that? When he's he's trying to write at the beginning.
Yep.
That's playing. Yeah.
And then
that's how I knew it was the end. I knew that was because it was just like a full circle. But yeah.
And so it looks like they were back in Adam's apartment, but I'm wondering if by him not seeing his own body, if that meant it wouldn't break that spell. He wouldn't really, by not seeing his body, he's able to stay with Adam.
I think,
I don't know. It just...
I mean, I am a spiritual person, but I don't know the most about spiritual things. And so, I mean, potentially, could. But also, too, I think the whole point was Adam's keeping these people alive.
Yeah.
In his mind, maybe in the or the metaphysical world or whatever.
And also the idea that they never leave. Mm-hmm. Even if you want them to. They're always here.
Right. Right.
But that idea that they are still, like, I'm going to cry again.
They're still present and with you.
Present. And affecting your life.
Yeah.
And you can still have a relationship.
But speaking of affecting his life, I was like, my last thoughts after watching the movie were just like, poor Adam. He just processed his family's death.
And now his boyfriend was never alive in the first place.
Like, that relationship was all a lie because it was with a ghost.
That relationship started when he was dead.
It's like the story Ghost retold and The Sixth Sense. Like, I was like, oh, okay, this is where we're at now.
But it's different from The Sixth Sense and all those other movies, I think.
Yeah.
I think
it's like poetic, I think.
It's poetic. And it's got a certain je ne sais quoi.
Yeah.
That it's the most touching movie.
Yeah.
Like, I love it.
It's pretty beautiful, too, the way it's
shot. It's probably better that I don't watch it.
I think I'll probably end up watching this movie again, because I want to see then, knowing what I know. Yeah. Going back and, like, looking at different scenes and things I could pick up.
When I watched it for the podcast, it was only the second time I'd watched it. And I did see things that I didn't see before.
Yeah.
So, but... and also at the end when they're in bed, it kind of like does, what's the kaleidoscope thing you look through when you're a kid? And then it places them like in a constellation. But then you see all these other constellations lighting up.
Right.
Which I think maybe that just means everyone's loved one. Like it's a universal.
Yeah.
I don't think it was supposed to represent his dead, just his people.
Like a... Yeah,
but you go back to Stardust, I guess.
Yeah, I didn't take it to mean that Adam was finally dead. Like,
no.
I know, but it's like as you learn that everybody's dead, I was like, is now
for a
Adam
minute
going
I was
to?
worried, but I was just like, my God, he had to lose them again.
I know, it's a new trauma he's got to reprocess.
And how do you say that to a therapist? Well, my parents came back to me as ghosts.
Yep.
Then they left
we
again.
We worked it out. Yeah, that was great.
And my abandonment issues are strong.
Yes, absolutely. Now that Harry, my never was boyfriend.
He's a lovely man. He's just dead. But it also makes you think, when you have someone like Harry just looking for connection or asking for, that we also just need to pay better attention to the people around us.
Yeah.
You know that probably more than I do.
Well, no, I mean, but you miss things, and I mean, that's kind of what, like Adam tells Harry, the whole reason he didn't let him in that first night after he realizes he's dead and he's talking to the ghost is like, I was too scared. I was too scared of my own insecurities, my own whatever.
And his own wants and needs, too.
Yep.
Because when they do have a physical relationship...
He's a little hesitant. Like you said, he hasn't done it in a while.
Yeah, and... Harry was like, it's okay, just enjoy it.
Right.
And he said, well, I went years thinking if I slept with someone, I'd be dead.
Right.
So, there's also that trauma.
Yeah. Lots of it to unpack. But yeah. Overall, I liked the movie.
This is my type of movie. You know.
Yeah.
You know.
I do. Yes.
So, I loved it very much.
Yeah. I would say this one I probably loved it.
I loved it.
Yeah, I'm trying to think. Yeah, because I would watch it again. Again, I still feel like my top loving movies are the ones that I can watch no matter what I'm feeling. I still feel like this is the type of movie, though, I still have to be in a good mind frame to watch. I can't just put it on and watch it.
Amen.
I know.
No, I can't. I mean, when I turned it on, because I had such an emotional response.
Yes.
The first time I was like, oh, God.
But I mean, that's probably a testament to the movie and about it,
Not about my own mental illness, but
No,
about...
I think about it making you feel something.
Oh,
right?
yeah. And
Yeah.
I mean, it's a good movie.
Yeah.
It's just, I love it. And I might actually finish the book.
Yeah, well, you'll have to let me know. I'll have to add it to my TBR. Is it a
Okay.
long book or is it short?
No, it's maybe like 300.
Okay, that's good.
Yeah.
That's an average book for me. So we both loved it. That's great. Carrie, I think we've got to pick the next movie.
Well, I mean, if we're going to have another podcast, we do.
We do.
Let me get it.
Well, and also, Carrie, here, we're going to need to pick two because of a scheduling thing that's coming up, because we want to have enough time. So you and I are each going to pick one.
I don't know if I can handle the excitement.
I know. We'll do them in order. So, like, I picked the last one, so you're going to pick the next one.
We got all sorts of...
And then, but I'll have to pick one today, too, just so
Yeah.
that we know ahead of time. Oh, that was a good one. Okay, Carrie.
Okay.
The next episode will be...
Wait.
You pick. No, but I'm going to pick one, too, so leave it open.
Okay.
Because we're going to pick the episode
You
after.
don't want to hear that fresh pop.
No, that's okay.
All right. So the next movie... I Never Promised You a Rose Garden.
Okay.
I have not seen it.
I've never seen it either, but it was recommended.
There's a book.
This is like more of like a... I think it was a TV movie, or... I don't know if it was a feature film.
Okay.
But it came out in the 90s, I think. The 90s or the 80s, so yeah.
It was, there was a book in the, I think it was the 60s or 70s about a girl who ends up in a mental institution.
Well, this is yeah. Or maybe it came out in the 70s. I don't know. But yeah. So that will be our next one. And then the one after that will be... Benny and June. I love that movie. I haven't seen it forever.
I have not seen it since the 90s, but I watched it so many times.
Oh my God.
It's just like...
And honestly, so Carrie, this might be one that we need to watch together, because when we record this one, it's going to be, I'll say it on the podcast now, but also too, I think it's going to be on, oh no, it won't be on Best Friends Day. Next weekend on June 8th, it's Best Friends Day, National Best Friends Day, just FYI. So.
Are you saying you want a gift?
No, I'm saying we're going to record a podcast together in honor of our friendship. But it won't be Benny and June, because that won't be the order. But yeah, so it'll be I Never Promised You a Rose Garden, and then Benny and June.
I love it.
Okay, great. All right. Well, we have work to do, so until then, folks.
See you next time.
Bye.